My name is Ray Simone. I'm the owner of a fine art vintage poster gallery in Williamsburg, New York. I first got started collecting with a neighbor of mine that it was a husband and wife. They owned a tag sale company. And when I would go in, I used to see a bunch of old stuff, and I saw some old photographs of old Hollywood that I was really into, still am. And I first started buying from them, and then it just continued. As the older I got, the more I bought. The type of prints that are in my collection are considered type 1 photographs, images that were printed at the time they were photographed. So the early Hollywood stuff, you're talking 1915, 1920, and then also 20s and 30s, but they have to be original vintage from that period. I source a lot of my prints from auction houses will call me up. I've become quite popular over the years. People know what I do, so a lot of people will come in and try to sell me stuff, call me, or some via the internet, emails. And again, a lot of the auction houses know what I do, so they'll send me thumbnails of stuff that they have for sale and see if I'm interested in buying it. But originally it started in Manhattan, in the photo district. There used to be a lot of empty parking lots that turned into flea markets over the weekends. That's where I used to source a lot of the original camera negatives. One interesting story on how I acquired some negatives was a guy out in Long Island. He had a glass negative of the Brooklyn Bridge trolley car. I bought it from him. I worked on it for 40 hours. It came out beautiful. And when I saw it, the finished product, I said, wow, I wish I had more of these. So I called the guy up. I said, would you have any more of these? He said, meet me out in Long Island, in a parking lot in Long Island, which was Roosevelt Field to be exact. And, I pulled up my car next to his, and he got out and opened up his trunk, and I had to open up my trunk. It was like a drug deal. It was just a box of glass negatives from around 1910, 1912. Here's the one of the many of the trolley cars of New York before the subways were really running in the city. I'll show you one of the final products is this one. Going to the Brooklyn Bridge with Astor Place trolley in the back. It's beautiful. I worked 40 hours retouching this piece. Oddly enough, the biggest seller is a photograph that I took. This is Greenpoint Avenue in Greenpoint. I took this like 1990. It actually is my biggest seller of all the images, which are all original vintage. So this one I really like. This is the foot of the Williamsburg Bridge on Delancey, right when you first come off. So Clinton Street is just out of the picture. Then you have Suffolk and then Norfolk Street. This is a huge traffic jam of trolley cars and cars in general trying to get over the bridge, and it's just beautiful. It's just so much. I wish I could hear the sounds. I wish there was sound accompanying this photograph. This is Frank Sinatra in a studio, going to record some music. And the person that I bought the negative from probably thought I couldn't get much out of it because there's two men standing here looking into the camera. He has an intense look on his face. It's probably he's pissed off at who are these two guys next to me. But anyway, I had to draw them out of the image pixel by pixel, because if I would have cropped them out, I would have lost the piano and the sheet music. That image was featured in a professional photographer's magazine. Now it's easier to do this, but when I did this 20 years ago, not as easy as today. This is another one of my favorite images. I worked on it really hard. I worked on this, it's got to be about a week of retouching. This is an original 5x7 glass plate negative, roughly 1870, maybe 1880. I call it 10 Haunted Maids. It's 10 girls. I'm only assuming they're the children of the staff of a wealthy estate or a castle of some kind. And their faces are beautiful. One of the girls was missing her eyes. I had to steal eyes from one girl and put it on another. I know I worked on the shoes for about at least a day alone. So right now I'm working on something for a local restaurant that's going to be opening up. I have some images of Johnny Depp and Al Pacino that I took a couple of decades ago that he wants to put on the wall of his restaurant. The movie took place, the real story took place around the corner from where we are right now. Most of the stuff that I've collected, for many decades. As you can see here, there's old. I love old Hollywood. I love old pinup girls. A lot of Charlie Chaplin, a lot of Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello. These are all original vintage pieces from 1915 to 1920. One of my favorite spots is a little shrine I have to a not so famous actress, but to me she was very famous. Her name was June Marlowe. She started off as a model back in the early teens and did some movies in the early 20s. And I think she eventually got married and got out of film. But this is her. I have some other images of her up there. I really like her. The favorite part for me for doing this collecting is especially a lot of my stuff is old New York, late 1800s, early 1900s. What I love to do, since the camera negatives are so large, is that you're able to really zoom in and see and look around and see how people were living and discovering where location that is. So a lot of the spots I love trying to find out where it was. One that I really loved, which when I bought the 8x10 glass negative, I didn't know where it was until I got home, scanned it, zoomed in, and I'm going to show you this one image here. When I bought it, I couldn't tell by looking at the negative where that was, but after I scanned it and looked at it, I said, oh my goodness, that's Astor Place. That's the Cooper Union building on the right, and the photographer is standing more or less where the cube is. That's a fun part for me, is trying to find the location. I love doing this, the collecting of old New York history. I feel like I'll be doing this forever until I can't do it anymore, which I don't foresee happening in a while.